And we're live. So we're back, episode number 11, lucky number 11, as many like to call it. This is our final episode of 2020 as well, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed the last 10 and, subscribe, whatever you need to do on iTunes, review us as well. At the same time, it does all count. So today we're going to be discussing New Year's, a bit of a review for all of us at the end as well, discussing 2020. And let's start with Nate. Like, how is obviously 2020 has been a roller coaster. You started off the year traveling, and then here you are now in basically you bought a house as well. You're in Runcorn, got a dog, living the dream effectively. But it's been a weird 2020.
It's been two ends of the spectrum, and I think that's probably the summary of my life. Most of it is that you go from one end and go from the radical extreme to the other radical extreme through the dirty middle. But yeah, it's been, to be honest, I can't complain about this year. I feel sorry for people that have been affected by COVID and the times, but to be honest, apart from the lockdowns, like removal of gyms, it hasn't really impacted me too much personally, which is it's been good. I mean, I think I spoke in an IG post yesterday about how I kind of went through the lockdown mentality that a lot of people did in 2019 anyway with the traveling. I just spent a lot of time on my own and went a bit loopy, so I totally understand how everyone felt in 2020, because it was the exact same thing for me the year before. But luckily, I kind of utilized and kind of got out of it in 2019 and just used the same strategies the whole of 2020. So it allowed me to stay above water for the most part. Obviously, there's always a few breakdowns and whatnot, but there's always it's how quick you get out of them. So for me, it's been a great year. Traveling and living in Barcelona was amazing. Coming back, living with the parents again was a shock. And then getting back out on my own after a short space of time. I'd never saved before in my life, and this was probably the only year that I've ever saved properly. Last year I spent all of my income that I ever got on traveling around the world, and then came back with nothing and then saved up. So it's been very, very good. Me and Luna now settled in the house. And looking for a good 2021. It's been quite an extreme. Apart from that, I'm looking like a melted candle after Christmas. From a physique perspective, like this year, I spent it muscle building. So I went from like 63 kilos at the end of March when I came back from Barcelona, and built up now to about 70. It's like I'm at that tipping point now where I just feel uncomfortable in my clothes. You feel a little bit like your love handles are now catching up with you, and like things start to like jiggle when you walk a little bit. So I'm just at that tipping point for me, at that top end of that bodyweight range. But I'm going to try and hold it there until February, because that's when I'm going to start my diet for the next photo shoot that I'm doing. So I'm just embracing this melted candle look, and enjoying the benefits of eating loads of food and training very, very hard.
How about you, Emily? How's 2020 as a whole?
I feel like I'm just going to repeat what Nate has said, because I was traveling. I was traveling and I moved back from Australia, and then I moved in with my parents, and that was a freaking shock, right? And then moved back to the UK only to decide that I'm moving back to Sweden. And now I'm stuck in the UK because they closed the borders. So I don't know when I get to go back. So right now I'm in this time space warp where everything is the same, but nothing feels the same anymore. Like I'm literally like every day it's like a gift, and it's like a blank slate, and yet everything I do is similar, but it just feels very different. So yeah, it's been I think also a very fantastic year in terms of for my personal development, for what do you say, foremostly, for first and foremost.
First and foremost,
and yeah, I mean, I started my new year in Sweden, went back to Australia, I traveled around. I ended a relationship, and I spent a lot of time in solitude there as well, as I was traveling on my own. And then I was lucky enough to be joined by my best friend from Sweden. And that was just before Corona happened. So we were actually able to do all the things that we wanted to do in our little car driving around. And then obviously Corona happened, and I just ended up staying in Sweden. The plan was never to stay in Sweden. And now somehow it's turned around to become this permanent place I'm going to be in terms of me finding a house, me, establishing myself in a new country, which is my old country. but it feels weird. So I'm embracing every moment of everything. Like I'm so excited about this year and then next year, and yeah, only good things I think will happen. So
Yeah, I think I like that, the positivity. I think it does help for a lot of people. I think sometimes we look back on the year, and I think I've heard probably in the last like 5 days or so, especially in the lead up to this new year, everyone's like 2020 was shit. But at the same time, I actually like what you guys said, 2020 has actually been a good year probably for most people for growth, because you've actually looked probably internally at yourself. You probably looked at like, do I want to do that? You may be on that kind of autopilot most of the years, and then suddenly 2020's happened, and it's forced you to look at yourself, and whether it's your job, whether it's your physique, fitness, health, you completely look into that and you're thinking, actually, I want to change this, because what 2020 shown me is that anything can change, and it's one of those situations. But I think 2020 for me has been also a pretty decent year, all around, in a way of probably growth, personal growth. Like, it allowed me to get out of my comfort zone. This year I was supposed to travel as well, but obviously that didn't happen. So I don't know how you guys still remember like the travel aspect, because I can't remember much from like January and February for some reason. I can only remember like March, and then there was a lockdown period, and it just felt like it dragged on. Like, it did drag on this year, like in a way, like everyone's like, yeah, let's just get 2020 over with. Let's just get it over with. Let's get it over with. But like, it does feel slightly weird in that way. But looking back on it in hindsight, it has been a great year for, development, like me reading books, but also not just reading it. It's also what can I implement from there? Because as we know, reading is great, but if you're not implementing nothing from anything, it's like, what are you going to be really implementing? Is the real question. So yeah, I think it's been a definitely interesting year, especially from a training viewpoint. I think all had massive aspirations at the end of 2019 of like, this is what I want to achieve with training, and this is what I want to do, and these are the PRs. And then suddenly they're like, yeah, 5 months of the year, you're not going to be using the gym. And that's probably been the toughest part for a lot of people, because I'm not sure if you guys found the same thing, but at the start of lockdown, everyone was actually quite excited about training from home. I clearly remember everyone was like, oh, I can't wait, because now I can train whenever I want and I don't need to go to the gym and all of that. And then I think it switched probably 8 to 12 weeks later, where a lot of them were like, actually, you know what? I'm just in the same environment, and I'm just in the same environment, or doing anything. And I think all of us felt the same way. But I think my piece of advice would be for that is obviously just control your own variables and just make the most of that, because ultimately you can't do anything about it. But from, you either train or you sulk, or you don't do anything, or you just keep sulking, and that's it.
I have so much compassion now because I was never in a lockdown. This is my first lockdown.
Oh yeah, wow.
I haven't trained since lockdown. Like I literally, okay, I do like 18,000 steps, but I haven't trained. And that's me, like, I want to bring this into two things. Part of me is like a little bit like, whoa, you should just man up and get a grip. Obviously I maximized my work. Like I've in some way I've been thinking, hey, let me maximize how much I can work, because in my head I'm like, I'm going to Sweden anyway. But that's like extending and extending, and I'm like, whoa, okay, now maybe that's going to turn out to be a month and a half before I actually can go back. So I kind of have to like get into the training zone. But another side that I've been finding quite interesting is actually I don't identify myself with fitness. Like I love it, but it hasn't changed. Like I haven't had a crisis in what I do and who I am. And I really much have enjoyed seeing that side as well, because I think we do it so much, and it's kind of like, I am fitness and I am this and this is what I do. So it's in a way been really nice to go like, actually, if something gets taken away from me, I don't feel like it's affecting me. It affects me because my eating has been shit. Like, I don't know, like if you've seen, but I smashed 10 Terry's chocolate orange in 5 days, I think, because they were all meant to go home and like become like gifts from my family because they love them. And then I was like, oh shit. And now I'm here on my own. I was like, I'm just gonna have a chocolate orange, right? So, I had a photo shoot 2 weeks ago, and I don't have a scale and I don't have a food scale, so I actually don't know. But I'm definitely like softer, like around the edges, and that's okay. But I've written a little training plan, so I'm just gonna, get into the zone of doing it. So
the I think a lot of people realize why they went to the gym in the first place at about the 12 to 13 week mark. They did it and they were all excited to do the workouts. But in reality, the biggest reason that I found most of my clients going to the gym is for a bloody break away from the home, whether it was to get away from the parents or the wife or the kids or work or whatever it is just relieve your stress. And they were utilizing that implement to do so. And a lot of people may have realized that that was their anchor, that going to that specific place and going to do that exercise, whereas they actually thought it was the exercise that was doing it. It was the whole combined effect. It was you leaving the house, doing the walk to the gym or the car journey, where you're listening to your music or just like doing something apart from work. Then you get to the gym and you're doing your sets and you're doing your reps, and that's taking away some stress. And then you got the walk home or the travel home as well. It's that whole combined element as well. So for one part, that's where people really defined what they're actually going to gym for. And those that did home training and stuff and managed to do that effectively, did it because it was a priority to them. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people learned in 2020 is like, if you're going to do it, you'll do it. Like if you want to do it, you'll do it. And as much as like you can not get kit or you can do something, there's always something you can do, even if it's just steps. So even if you break it down to the lowest common denominator, which is getting outside of your house or doing a body weight workout, if you don't want to do those, then you don't want to do the fitness stuff, and that's okay. You don't have to do it, but that's where people then start questioning why their goals are important to them, and then they're reevaluating what's actually a priority for them in this moment in time. So I think it was all a good thing because everyone realized what their priorities were, and whether fitness was one of those in like the top 3 or 4. Because as a challenge or as a crisis goes on, you find that your margins on what is a priority to you, but you also spend more time doing those things, or you cut back on the existential stuff. Like maybe priority number 7, priority number 8, priority number 9, because they all just get left to the wayside because you're doing more with the major stuff. Like the kids are at home, you're working more hours, they get more time, and then the other stuff don't get as much time. And it's our job or your responsibility as a human to recognize whether that is the right priority list for you, or you need to reevaluate how you're going to create some more boundaries to get them in. And I think a lot of people adapted to that and realized that they need more boundaries. They'd probably been on their phone too much. They're leaving that into the late night, going into work, going in the mornings, checking the phone, and going to during the day they're checking the phone. They're on the work laptop, always connected. Then in the evening they're doing the exact same thing and going to bed and sitting in bed on the phone as well. So there's loads of things that I think a lot of people learned from the 2020 because it's put you in a position where you have to value your own priorities, and it shows you your true colors in effect as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I mean, I'm doing like a review as well for myself, and one of the things I observed was anyone wants to get results will always get the results regardless of circumstances. So like we saw that this year with people still doing photo shoots, people still getting into amazing condition. It wasn't, even if they had lockdown, they still managed to get things done. It wasn't like, oh, I've got a lockdown, I'm going to cancel everything. It still happened for a lot of people. And I do think it's going to be quite important because regardless of us now leaving this year, we've still got to realize the start of 2020 is still going to be a lot like 2021 is still going to be a lot like 2020. So we can't suddenly be like, okay, listen, 24 hours later, guys, we're in 2021. Let's go outside. Gyms are reopen. Flights are happening. Get ready for the beach, etc. That isn't going to be happening for at least potentially another 6 months. So we may have 2021. We may just go again very, very quickly. But it's about then, do you just wait for the right time when you start your journey? And we can probably get into that now, actually, which is, the New Year's resolution, new year, new me. What's your thoughts on all of this stuff right now? And I got this question asked the other day, like, when is the right time to start? And obviously 2020's proved it, where there is no right time to start, because if you're waiting for the gyms to start or open, like they can close within 2 days, and then what do you do then?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote a post yesterday, which I just felt it needed to be said in a way. Like, resolutions are really good. They're like wishes and stuff, but I really think that we should make more like declaration that this year I will, not I want. And just using that word instead, you have a goal and you say, I want to lose 10 kilos, like I will lose 10 kilos. That language itself is like, I'm taking action. I'm going to take action. It's not just a wish. I'm just waiting for the right moment to do. It's like, no, my want and my will starts today. And however that's going to be, I'm going to figure it out. But I need to be committed to actually get started. And whether that journey itself is going to be like a really messy road, because it has been for most people, like we don't actually know. It's going to be, you have to develop a level of behavioral flexibility to get to where you want to be, because life is uncertain. Like everything in life is uncertain, but you can create a certainty in yourself with the willingness to commit regardless of what's going on. And maybe some things are less efficient, or make it harder, but it doesn't make it not worth doing. And I think that's where people need to go, like, you can't wait until there is a better time, because there's never going to be, there's always going to be. And also when life gets easy, we get more stressed because we're going to find more things to be stressed about. Like so it really is just like, make that decision. If you have something that's like, I actually really want this, like, cool, but I will. And then of course, like, I don't like New Year's for the sake of New Year, new me, but it is a nice fresh start. It kind of feels like I get to do this and I get to do it right. But it needs to be like, no more wants, like, I will start January 1st, even today, December 31st, make something so that will happen that you can take on tomorrow and just go, cool, I have started. That's my
100%. It's a hot take, and I'm 100%. I think the behavioral flexibility that you talked about is why people aren't in shape now.
Mhm.
I think that's probably it, right? If you're not behavioral, if you don't have a behavioral flexibility, or like to be able to understand why you're saying what you're saying, you won't have that grasp. And I think what that comes into nature for most people that do start in January, they have this behavior of that. It combines finances, it combines not learning much recently, and it comes down to preconceived ideas of what fitness is. And I think firstly, people believe that if you're paying for something or you're doing something, that you need to be 100% because you need to get value for money, because value for money is only ever done if you're doing 100% of it, right? If you're only doing 50% and but paying £150, you're wasting £75. Effectively, that's what these people will think. If you haven't learned anything recently, you'll know, or you'll have this mindset of where you think that you have to be perfect every single time, and every step that you take has to be on point every single time. Never fucking happens. And if you look at learning a new language, if you look at how babies walk, babies don't just get out of the womb and just start walking. Just like straight out, fire, doof. Now they walk out of fucking St. James's Hospital. It's like, no, they learn to crawl first, and then when they stand up, they fall over a lot, and they fall over a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot until they get their balance, and then they don't fall over more frequently. And then they don't frequently fall over, and then they become toddlers that run around riot, but then they fall down less frequently. That's how learning happens. That's how changing your behavior happens, and that's how fitness happens. It just pisses me off that everyone thinks that if they're paying, let's say, money for a coach, or they're paying for a gym membership, they have to get value for money, so they either have to go every single day or they have to be perfect every single day. You're not going to learn shit if you're perfect, because you don't learn anything if you're the best person in the room. You don't learn if you don't learn if you're perfect every single day. You learn when you're absolutely crap, when you've got challenges and you're put underneath it, and someone says to you, "What could you do better next time?" That's what this process needs. And if you're learning those things and you're learning something new, which a habit is something new, a skill maybe of eating better, and then conscious decisions, which are always going to kind of be something to learn as well, because you have to have that thoughtfulness and mindfulness. Those things take time to develop and nurture, and it comes through you not knowing, or you knowing that your shit stinks like everyone else's does, and you're not going to be perfect. So I really hate that, where people think that they have to get value for money and they think that they have to be 100%. It doesn't work ever. Never had a client that's done it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it all the time now. Even like, let's say, consultation calls. They're like, we've had the whole classic, like, I've got 3 months free, I've got nothing happening. I'm like, I'd rather you have something happening during that 3 months. Like, I want you to have birthday parties, and this is like pre-corona, let's put it that way. But I want you to go out, I want you to have socials, I want you to go to the pub, because you want to make it seamless to your lifestyle, rather than, you just basically stop everything, try and get in shape. And then after that, that's when the biggest challenge is if you want to stay in shape.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen after that? You're going to be 35 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be back again.
Or you're eating 10 cherries and chocolate oranges
There you
2 weeks after your photo shoot.
That's supposed to go to Sweden. But to be fair, what M said as well was the language pattern where someone says like, I want or I wish, or those things happen because from what I've noticed anyway, when people get coaches, and it's not like a shameless plug or anything like that, they start to say, okay, this is how I'm going to get it, because they've found a process. I think once you find processes to a system, you're like, okay, I can now achieve that. Whereas before that, it's very much like they don't know how they're going to achieve it, so this becomes a wish more than anything else. So always rely on, like, I think, find your process that will get you the end result effectively, and then refine that process throughout. That will always make you stay in shape for the rest of your life.
100%. And the two things is like you find a goal, a tangible goal. You find something to take you from that place where you're at right now to that point. And there's no shame in getting someone's help to do that. And it's not even a plug for coaches, but like when I wanted to learn Spanish, I didn't read a book. I got a tutor. When I wanted to learn Hindi, got a tutor. When I wanted to play the guitar when I was younger, when I played golf, got a guy, but I hit the range as well. I practiced on my own. I practiced with a tutor. When I wanted to play guitar when I was younger, tutor. It isn't because we're stupid we have to get these coaches. It's because we want to learn something new that we don't know how to play or we don't know how to do. And if we do it by ourselves, that we have no knowledge of, let's say my job is in fucking stocks and shares, you have to take time and effort out of you making money from the stocks and shares to go and learn about nutrition, which you might get from a wrong source, and then end up fucking going down the route of eating just cheese and milk for your keto diet, or fucking shakes like Cambridge. And then you spend a year or two unlearning that because that fucked you up, and then it gained you more weight, and then by the time you're 2 or 3 years into your fitness journey, you've detracted nearly 30% away from your headspace towards trading and stocks and family, and you're all consumed by nutrition and all consumed by training. That is all actually bullshit information. Yeah. And like it's just the same as if you get just a bad coach or just a bad information spot, because there's so much information on the internet now. You can go down a rabbit hole, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And I think that is one of the large factors for getting someone that knows what they're doing, or finding the right people to be in your circle that know the exact same thing, or know the thing that you need to do.
Let's transition actually into that as well, which is like the rise of, let's say someone's going to be like going into a fad diet in January, right? They maybe listen to this, but they may be like, I don't know what they're kind of talking about, whatever. Let me just go to this kind of Cambridge diet, or let me do something that worked for me in the past. Right. So I think we should definitely dive deep into that. And essentially the rise of, fad diets are going to be around, especially like January is going to be like the hottest period. And then it usually just wears off over the year. So like, have you had clients who've had, come to you in the past and they're like, yeah, every January I tend to do like this juice fast or whatever?
Yeah, man.
Or yeah, go on that.
I don't even know where to go with it. There are always going, and I find mostly women will do this. And yeah, there will just be people who they feel like they've abused themselves over Christmas and New Year's especially, or maybe even from Thanksgiving, right? And they've just overdone it, and then they feel slightly like I actually feel disgusted a little bit from eating all this chocolate. I feel in my body that I have not taken well care of myself, in a sense. So you feel that there's a compounding effect. Like the first couple of days was fine. I probably looked even better. And then after like the next 3, it's like, I actually don't really feel great. So in my head, it's kind of like, oh, maybe I should do a diet. So it's natural to want to like switch it over and go like, I'm going to do something to make me feel good quickly, essentially. And also if these people come back every year and they will do a month of no drinking, and then they will go, I don't know, juicing or low carb or whatever it's going to be, and then they're going to stick to that for a month, they're going to see some results, and then they start come February and it's like everything goes back. And as you said earlier, like they're compounding on more weight than they did in the first place because they're going to be fucking up their metabolism in the process, right? So I don't even know what I want to say to them. I just say like, please don't, please
Yeah, you
don't
don't,
fuck yourself up.
we don't even need to
Like,
go down
that
it.
that was one of my wishes on my Instagram. I was like, I wish that people would just accept to take it a little bit more conservative, just a little bit, you know, and go in for the long haul. And yeah, like that is my purest wish for anyone this year. It's like, fucking out, don't go back to your same patterns.
Shall we just put it really, really simple? If you've done a diet before and now you're fatter than you finished your diet, the diet didn't work, so don't do it again.
Yeah.
And if you think it was just like one part of the diet, like, oh yeah, well, I just didn't do it at the end of it, I didn't carry it on, that's the fucking point. It isn't a diet that's sustainable. So don't do it again. Find something that you're like, oh shit, yeah, like this could be a reasonable option for the rest of my life, or at least for a year or two, or it gives me options to do X, Y, and Z. Just don't do something that has worked before in the short term that has now left you fatter and overweight more.
It's kind of like going back to your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend.
I'm not gonna say that.
Like, no, I'm
Now
gonna
you're
go
just
back
popping
for
up.
more pain because I knew it was good, but it wasn't good enough, and like I'm just gonna try it because it might just work out this time. Like, don't do it.
Because that dick
do
is
it.
so good in that first month, but then when you have to start sleeping around Disney, starts leaving his fucking ironing on the floor, then you're like, get the fuck out of here. This is why I left you in the first place, you bag of shit.
That was very personal, wasn't it?
I didn't. No, it wasn't because I said he.
Are you okay, hun?
Are you okay, Nate?
Emily's been projecting to me, so I'm projecting Emily's story through
back to this audience.
I appreciate that, but you know, but that is kind of it. You can just start if you can actually do a metaphor for what it actually means to go back to something that isn't good and nurturing for your health and your mind and for anything. If you can see that as your ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, who actually wasn't a very nice person, or just wasn't right for you, then it's kind of easy to go, like, it makes sense because I don't really want it. I want something different. I want to feel better. Like I want other things. So yeah, visualize that juice, you know, visualize that fad diet as a man or a woman whom you no longer want to be acquaintance with.
Fitness is very much a marathon. It's not a quick sprint. I think a lot of people I think people are realizing that now anyway. I think a lot before it used to be the reason why Juice Fast worked and Cambridge worked and all that, because it was very short term. It was very like, listen, you're going to see a result in like as short as 5 days time and you're going to feel fantastic. But when you told someone it's going to be 8 months, 9 months of the year, which you're going to be needing to diet down or to get into amazing shape, it was like, nah, I don't think I want to do that. But it's the reason why some people only do marathons, right? And some people love the sprints. Some people love 100 meters because of, you know, the gratification you get from either one. So I do personally think, you know, for most people who listen to this, approach fitness in a way that it's going to be a long-term game for you. And, you know, initially maybe like, where's the gratification for it? Because you may not see something in like first 4, 5, 6 weeks or whatever, but eventually, you know, it'll pay off. It's very similar to like finances as well. You know, if we talked about stocks and shares earlier, but it's the same thing. So you're not going to be, you know, the more you compound over time, you know, the better your returns will be. It's the same thing with fitness.
The perception of what a long-term diet is also wrong. A perception of a long-term diet is, I'm going to be dieting for straight for 8 months. That's not what the long-term approach is. The long-term approach is like when you're stocks and when you're saving your ices and what like that. If you want to go and buy a pair of nice jeans, like you want to go out for a nice meal, you can go and do that. Like it's not like oh, I'm gonna have to be strict for 8 months and I do it at a slower rate to get to the point of where I'm holding it for maintenance. No, the point of the long term is that you go through more challenges, you go through more times where you have to go, okay, I have to be a little bit more conscious at this social event because last year I had like 15 drinks and 2 pizzas. This year I'm gonna have like 5 drinks and half a pizza, and that's gonna be more towards like what I want. But the long term gives you more opportunities to practice what you want to be. And that doesn't mean that you have to eat chicken and vegetables. It means that you have to come up with a plan that you actually want to be doing for like the next 3 to 5 years or whatnot. You know, most of my guys are like, I had some guys say, I didn't want to start in December because I didn't want to be, you know, the guy that's eating samosas over Christmas. I'm like, I ate samosas over Christmas. There was nothing stopping you doing that, but their perception on what is appropriate when it comes to dieting, what is appropriate because of their what they've done before or who they've trained with before, their perception is that they have to be militant and they have to be 100% with no wiggle room ever. And that's why people are afraid of doing the long term, because they think that the long term means more discipline and longer dieting. But actually it doesn't. It probably means around the same amount of dieting, but just more days of where you're more flexible, where you have calorie intake that's higher, and you get to teach yourself how actually there's a mid ground between dieting on, you know, 30% deficit, or like, say 1400 calories or something like that, and doing 15k steps. And then there's times in the months when you may be doing 10k steps and actually eating 1800 calories. You know, I've got more women now who have been chronically dieting for maybe 3 to 5 years, maybe longer, on more calories than they've been eating during their diet and holding their body weight. And what you find is that when they actually hold their body weight, they actually get what they wanted in the first place. They just wanted to be stable with their mindset. They wanted to be stable with their food intake. And now they're loving eating dairy milk every day. But that's because they're invested in that long term, and they don't think the long term is more dieting, more aggressive, more restriction. It's actually look at it like, okay, well, I'll come to my coach and say, okay, well, I've got this social event and I would like to drink, because everyone would like to drink at certain events, or everyone would like to eat at certain things. You're not going to go and get a salad at the Hawksmoor, are you? If you go into the Hawksmoor, which is a steak restaurant, you're going to go and want a fillet, or you're going to go and want a ribeye, or you want to go and get, you know, chips and steak because that's what you like to eat. It's about going through those times and going to your coach or going to yourself. I want to go and have steak and chips there. What is it that I have to do? What strategy do I have to employ to have it? Or how do I incorporate it into a day of maintenance? So I don't have to have a dieting day, but I also don't have to go completely over my calories. I can have a day at the mid ground. And that's the long-term strategy, if I'm correct.
Yeah, you spoke about earlier the perfectionist mindset.
Yeah.
You know, if you go for that, basically, like, it's the reason why most people actually fail, because they're trying to go for, you know, perfectionism and the all or nothing mentality, which is like, I'm going to go all in, I'm going to be great, you know, this was going to happen, no socials, but you've got to incorporate it. And I think this is where honesty also comes into play as well with your coach. Like, just be honest, like, listen, don't try and impress your coach either in a way that I need to be perfect, so then I'll feel like, you know, my coach is going to love me or whatever. It doesn't work that way. As long as, you know, honesty works the best in a sense where, listen, I'm going out, great. If you're going out, let's create a game plan here. Because the whole point is creating a game plan that will work for you. Now, if you enjoy having a Nando's and you have Nando's within your calories and macros and so on, and you still drop something, that's changed your whole perception of dieting forever. Because you're now not thinking, oh my God, Nando's is like a sacred meal that I should like have, you know, only post dieting. It's like, no, you can have it when you're dieting. You mentioned obviously Hawksmoor. You can still have that when you're dieting. It's a lot of foods you can still have dieting, but you got to get away from that whole like, no, it's just got to be chicken, broccoli. That's it. And I'm going to be good to go then. Doesn't work that way because ever. Yeah.
You can have anything. You just have to understand whether it's going to be a dieting day or it's going to be a maintenance day. If it's going to be a maintenance day, you can have anything. Like literally, like the amount of food that you get in 2000. Now, most people will maintain their weight on like. There's going to be very few people, if you're doing 10k steps in a day and eating between 1800 and 2200, that are going to gain significant body fat on one day. It's virtually impossible. That's like a whole Domino's pizza if you wanted to have it, or like 3 meals at 800 calories, which is a lot of food. A lot of food if you play it right. And that's like 1 pack of digestive biscuits plus 700 calories for the rest of the day, which could be 2 meals. So like you could get shit like that in, right? Like 1,000 calories of that.
You know, calories of things.
Like, yeah, it's so good. Come on, test me. Come on, test me.
Pack of dairy milk.
3 squares are 83 calories.
Ooh, that's not bad.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's really good.
What about like your, I don't know, how many nuggets do you have? How much nuggets on the nuggets?
Oh, 20 nuggets.
Yeah.
1,200
calories. How many?
1,200 for 20 nuggets.
There's 100 calories per nugget.
Let me Google this. It's probably one of the only ones that I don't track.
Because when he said 1,200, I was like, whoa.
Oh, it makes sense actually.
Yeah.
You don't know what's in between those breaded, bearded, whatever it is.
Well,
True that.
pigeon's quite low in calories, right? So.
Yeah, but it's a chicken though.
Do you remember? We had? Hang on, let me go back to that. How many calories into? 890. My bad.
All right,
Okay.
not bad.
I don't know whether it was me and you, but you know, in Camden, when you come outside of like places like Shaka Zulu, and the first exposure to London, I came and I went out for a night out in Shaka Zulu when I was at university. We came out and we were absolutely drunk, and then there was the guy selling like chicken on a griller. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get some chicken on a grill. Obviously, like a white boy from North London, like on North England, like, honest guy, like, oh man, if this guy looks like it's chicken, it's going to be chicken. And then one of my mates grabbed me and pulled me back, like, bro, that's pigeon. Do not go and get that. And every single time I come to Camden, I'm like, that's the pigeon guy. Because he's at 4 o'clock in the morning cooking shit on his griller outside of Shaka Zulu with a line down the road at £4, and he's like, "Nah, mate, don't go and get that. It's not chicken." I was like, "Oh shit."
You know what? It probably is chicken though.
Yeah.
It's just your mate was just like, "Listen, I'm vegan. Don't try and have this in front of me."
I don't have friends that are vegan.
You've gone like fierce pigeons and like pluck them and just like prepare them during the day and then come and cook them for you guys.
It'd be a good margin, wouldn't it? Because it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Camden is elite when you think about like food choices available to you.
Some wild people
You
in Camden.
Through there when you're on diet and hungry, like done that a couple of times, and it's just heightens all the senses, right? So it's a bit of a torture. But if you like torture, then
even Mildred's is nice. I've been there.
No.
It's a veggie and vegan restaurant. Bruh.
When you're
it was my first ever exposure to vegetarian food, like a chicken, not chicken katsu curry, fairly decent. Not chicken katsu curry. What we were speaking before, but I ruined it by looking at calories.
Yeah, I don't know.
McDonald's nuggets. We're talking about basically just calories.
Yeah, calories. That you are an encyclopedia of calories.
Oh, we were saying that you can have any food within a dieting, right? You just have to presume whether you're having a maintenance day, and I think it's powerful for every single person to know that you don't have to diet 7 days a week. You just have to align your expectations as well, and that's key. Like one side of the coin, you're saying, okay, I want to lose one kilo a week. Well, if you're not dieting 7 days a week, you're probably not going to get that. But if you're happy with losing something per week and having more flexibility and variety and having more maintenance days, then that's great. Like I know that in my next diet, there's a reason why I've put it as 20 weeks, because I know that I've got weddings and I've got things where I'm going to have a few Coronos and have maybe a chicken kebab. That's just the way it is. But that'll be a day where I just go, I'm having a maintenance calories, and then tomorrow we'll be back to normal.
Yeah.
But when you give yourself that permission to say, I can go to maintenance and not go completely over, it already takes away that over gluttonous behavior, because you've given yourself the freedom to eat what you wanted. It's when you don't give yourself the freedom to eat what you wanted, you feel disappointed, and then you double down on that behavior and go over at another point or in the same day.
Yeah.
What you said there was quite important about like going back to normal the following day. I think a lot of people obviously make that mistake, which is like, damn, I've messed it up. The whole week is now messed up, and then start that Monday morning diet again. So I think anyone who's also going to be embarking in obviously some sort of a dieting stage, coming up in the next week or so, don't try to go for all that essential, like, I messed up on Tuesday, I'm going to start again next Monday, because you're, just literally, let me eat this, let me eat that, and it becomes like a 5-day kind of free for all with all your food. So I think that's one of the biggest important lessons is, don't let one day like define your whole week, and don't beat yourself about it because you've literally just you've had a kebab or you've had a samosa or whatever, and think, okay, you know what, dieting is over basically, and I've messed up, and let me just go back to normal, or let me not even normal, but let me go back to whatever it was what you did before.
Yeah, I think that's a good end point, isn't it?
So final words for like 2020. What's What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to in 2021? It's a
Go on,
big
Emma.
question, isn't it?
I mean, I feel myself is just, I need to establish myself privately somewhere. Like that's what I look forward to like have my own space. I'm gonna buy a flat and I'm gonna like actually settle. I've been a drifter for like almost 32 years. So, well, more like 12 actually. I wasn't always a drifter. I did stay with my parents when I was young. But like I left Sweden the first time when I was 19 and I never really went back. So yeah, I look forward to settle, I guess, but then be able to go and really explore from that set point. And obviously, business wise, it's still, I think we're all in the very early stages of running our own businesses. So obviously, pushing that and being able to help as many people as possible, or broadening how we work, maybe how we network, and reaching more people. So that's what I want to do.
Yeah, and that's good. For me, it'll be try and do this photo shoot as peacefully as possible, and be fine with it. Got a couple of holidays to look forward to, hopefully, a lot of weddings, and then from a business perspective, just keep on growing. A little inside scoop for people that are listening to the fitness podcast is that I'm hiring. So if you're a personal trainer listening to this, do let me know. And just send me a DM on Instagram if you are wanting to look at the opportunities that I have at Autonomy. But I'm looking to hire as soon as possible. I'm going to put a post out in January, but because the faithful listeners to the fitness podcast, you guys get the first inside scoop. So if you're interested, do let me know. And then for you, Matt?
For me, it's growing my business as well. I think I'll be hiring someone potentially by March is the deadline I kind of put it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of growing that. Personally, I think getting more into my development. I think 2020 was great for that. Exploring more within that again. Get better at golf once again, which I think will be good. I know we haven't, me and Nate haven't talked about it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we haven't been at all.
Yeah, we haven't been. So explore that. And yeah, obviously with training as well, like I'm not going to talk about like training goals and stuff because I don't know, what equipment I'll be having, but the goal is still to, master my own environment basically and nailing that down.
Yeah. I'm actually going to exercise now. How about that? I'm excited. Let's finish on that one. I got to go.
All right.
It's going to smell like Terry's chocolate orange, isn't it? You sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we just want to wish everyone a really, well, it's going to be New Year's. So have a really great start to your new year when you hear this. And tune in again next week for more words of wisdom and ban.
Peace.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Have a good New Year's.
Take care.